Sudan's former president, Omar al-Bashir, has been sentenced to 2 years in a social reform facility for corruption. The 75-year-old, who was overthrown in April after nearly 30 years in power, appeared in court in the capital Khartoum, facing charges of corruption and illegal possession of foreign currency.
Sudan's former president, Omar al-Bashir, is sentenced to 2 years in detention in a state-run reform center over financial irregularity and corruption charges. It's the first of several cases against the leader, who was removed after nearly 30 years in power. Under Sudanese law, people over the age of 70 cannot serve jail terms. The case against the 75-year-old centers around suitcases filled with multiple currencies with more than $130 million, which were found in his home. While the former president admitted he had received $25 million from Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, he pleaded not guilty to the charges. Dressed in traditional white robes and turban, al-Bashir watched silently from inside a metal defendant's cage while the judge read out the verdicts. Before the verdict was read, supporters of al-Bashir briefly disrupted the proceedings and were pushed out of the courtroom by the security force. Omar al-Bashir's lawyer:
"This is a verdict that is not based on the law, but based on what happened in the street. As such, we will appeal this verdict. The entire verdict is not based on any facts, but based on what has been happening in the streets from rumors and lies."
It's unclear whether Bashir will be tried over alleged widespread human rights abuses during his time in power, including allegations of war crimes in Darfur. He will serve his sentence after the verdict has been reached in another case in which he is accused of ordering the killing of demonstrators during the protest that led to his removal.
UN climate talks appear to be in trouble as they head into extra time. Fault lines have reappeared between different negotiating blocs, with one delegate describing a new draft text as totally unacceptable. Alden Meyer from the Union of Concerned Scientists says the situation in Madrid is unmatched since climate negotiating began in 1991. Negotiators are working towards a deal for countries to commit to new carbon emission cuts by the end of 2020. Now let's find out the latest in the world of sports. Ayotunde is standing by.
Many thanks, Melinda. Sado Ismail from Cross River State has won the maiden Ikogosi 10-kilometer road race in Ekiti State. Ismail clocked a time of 30 minutes 45 seconds ahead of Shehu Muhazu of Plateau State. In the female category, Rose Akuzo, also from Plateau State, won the race in 48 minutes 41 seconds. Over 2,000 runners from different states of the country participated in the race, which kicked off from Aramoko Ekiti and ended at the Kogosi Warm Springs Resort.
I won this competition. I'm so happy. I really appreciate it. I'm a professional athlete. So I won Lagos City 10 kilometers. So this is my second competition for the year.
Rangers International FC secured a point away from home at Wikki Tourists in the Nigeria Professional Football League. The Enugu-based club took the lead in the 39th minute when Emmanuel Wokeji headed into the center of the net from Ikechukwu Ibenebu's free kick. However, Idris Guda equalized from the spot for the home team in the 52nd minute to put the scoreline at 1-1. The draw moved Wikki Tourists to second on the table with 14 points from 8 games, while Rangers remain rooted to the 19th position with 5 points from 6 matches. In England, Chelsea FC's poor form at Stamford Bridge this season continues as the Blues were stunned by Bournemouth Football Club. Dan Gosling's 84th minute strike condemned the Blues to their 3rd loss in 4 English Premier League games. Chelsea have only won 5 games in all competitions at home this season. But the Blues' gap over the 5th place could be reduced to 2 points on Sunday if Manchester United overcome Everton or Wolves beat Tottenham Hotspur. Bournemouth, on their part, celebrated, bringing to a halt 5 consecutive defeats. Meanwhile, league leaders Liverpool FC maintained their unbeaten run in the English Premier League with a resounding 2-0 victory over bottom-placed Watford. A brace from Egyptian forward Mo Salah was enough to hand the Reds all 3 points. It's not the first time Liverpool's Egyptian king has lorded it over Watford. He has 8 goals and 1 assist in 5 Premier League appearances against the Hornets. Leicester could not close the gap on Liverpool as they were held to a 1-0 draw by Norwich City, as they are now 10 points behind. Burnley beat Newcastle by a lone goal. Sheffield United beat Aston Villa to move to 5th, while West Ham secured a vital 1-0 win at Southampton. Well, as athletes around the globe prepare to go for the gold in Tokyo next summer, a 127-year-old artifact that outlines the very foundation of the modern Olympic Games is set to claim a hefty purse. The original Olympic Games manifesto is expected to pull in as much as $1 million when it hits the auction block next week. The document outlines the rationale for resurrecting the ancient Greek Games and an advocate for athletic pursuit outside the parameters of military training. And that's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Ayo. And the main news again. EFCC operatives today marked properties linked to former Abia State Governor Orji Uzor Kalu forfeited to the federal government, but the Sun newspapers faulted EFCC's action after the commission's officials marked its Lagos office. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari condemned the alleged killings of 4 aid workers with action against hunger by insurgents near Damasak, Borno State in July this year. And Sudan's former president, Omar al-Bashir, today bagged 2 years sentencing in a social reform facility for corruption. That's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Melinda Akinlami on behalf of the team.